Hey, hello. How are you? We are finally live. How are you? Say hi, guys,
Hey.
girls.
Hello.
Today, I'm just gonna introduce myself a little bit so everybody has a little bit of context. My name is Pablo Arias, and I work and own an international shipping company. It's called International Relocation Partner, and we're trying to connect with the expat community in Portugal. Just share our different thoughts and ideas. And with me, Deborah, Dav, and Anna, and I want you guys to introduce yourself and give us a little bit of a context of what you guys do, so we can tackle this topic. Do not move to Portugal. I'm always a little extreme with my titles, and that's okay because we want you guys, if you make a decision to move abroad, that just do your research, learn, and just do it right. Deborah.
Oh, well, thank you, Pablo. This is, I think, my third time here, so I appreciate the re-invite. I'm an expat coach. I'm an intercultural psychologist. I'm also a seasoned expat. I've been living abroad for over 40 years. I've lived in the U. I'm originally from Brazil. I've lived in the U.S., in France, in Spain, in UK, and in Portugal. This is my second time. So I'm so glad to be here. I help people with the planning, the mindset, and creating the structure so all of the practical things can flow a lot smoothly because that's what we want, right? We don't prepare a move to move abroad. We prepare a move to live abroad. So the moving is just a stepping stone to get there. So I help from getting the idea off the ground to feeling settled in your new home. That's me.
Amazing. And Anna, tell us a little bit about your background and start abroad. That
Yeah, thank
go
you
ahead.
so much for having me, Pablo. This is my first time on one of these, but yeah, my name's Anna Sosdian. I'm one of the co-founders of a full service end-to-end relocation company that helps with all aspects on that practical side that I guess comes after what Deborah assists with expats looking to relocate to Portugal and also a couple of other countries, including Costa Rica and Panama. So we do everything from helping you with your visas to finding a rental to picking you up at the airport and giving you a tour of your neighborhood and setting up your utilities. It's a very long list of assistance that we can help you with in Portugal. And also personally, I have now lived in 6 different countries, originally from the United States. So have a lot of moving, figuring things out type experience as well.
Amazing. And I'm just a shipping guy, but I know, I move you guys, and then you call me 6 months later, something went wrong. This is not for me. And after you spend 10,000, 15,000, sometimes $25,000 on a gigantic move, something did not work out because perhaps you didn't adjust to the new culture, or you didn't have the mindset to adjust to the new culture, or maybe you had a lot of issues with the small little practical things, and then you got frustrated because you didn't find Anna and Zach with Start Abroad to help you with all these things. So, this is a topic that for the last, I would say, 8 years, I've been doing this for a long, long time, but I discovered this, and it's close to my heart because it's so sad. I actually had people crying on the phone. This happened to me, and I'm leaving. I hate this country. I don't want that to happen, and this is why I'm so driven into sharing this information. And the topic for today is do not move to Portugal. And I did a little, like, kind of like research a little bit before we go into these points of why I think may want to say Portugal is not for me. Uh, I want you guys, your opinion. Anna, do you find any particular, I say, any particular
Oh, I think I lost you for a second there, Pablo. Do I find any particular?
issue? Do you find any particular
Yeah.
issue or big no about Portugal?
Mm. Yeah. Well, there's some things that I think people should be aware of when they're thinking about moving to Portugal. Just some speaking on the practical stuff, some things you should be prepared for, right? And know to expect. So One, of course, is just making sure that you're going to be able to live legally in the country. There are a lot of people who kind of have these expectations that, oh, well, Portugal is known for being good for digital nomads or for, um, someone who wants a cheaper cost of living or something like that. But actually, you do need to meet certain requirements to be able to live there long term, to be able to get a residency and a visa. So that's one of the things we tend to talk about first with people who come to us saying that we're interested in Portugal. Just do you meet those requirements, or can you get there? Because sometimes it can be a process as well. Like, let's say if you want to find a remote job that'll let you work from Portugal.
So all the legal stuff. And of
Yeah.
course you have, and this is in every country, you have this perpetual tourist. The perpetual tourist that, it's not even the digital nomad visa. It's just, I'm just here as a tourist and I'm just exiting the country X amount of time, X amount of
Right. Although I would say in Portugal, that's harder than in some other countries because so you can stay, well, let's say it does depend on your passport country, but let's say that you're American, you want to come to the country, you can stay for 90 days on your tourist visa, but then you do actually have to leave the entire Schengen area for 90 days before you can re-enter. So you can't really do this perpetual tourist thing like you can in some other places.
Wow. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
that's new. 'Cause
Yeah.
here in Costa Rica, Panama, I'm in Mexico today. So in Latin America, for the most part, you just do your 90-day exit, and then you go back the next day, and that's it. So
Right.
they're
That's one of those reasons it's important to know, like, okay, so I got to get my visa if I really want to move and live. Yeah.
What about you, Deborah? Do you feel there is any particular point that is kind of like the most common one that people say, no, Portugal is not for me because
Well, I've been seeing a lot of people who actually very recently, many people have been approaching me because they don't feel at home and they want to go back. So this is actually not new. There is a report from PricewaterhouseCoopers that says that about 40% of international assignments fail in a corporate setting, and that's in a setting where you have the support of a company, you're going to have income, the corporate culture, you're prepared. So imagine that in a situation where you don't have the supportive environment, where it's not the deep pockets of the corporation that is paying for everything. They're your pockets who are paying for everything. So it doesn't surprise me that people go back or consider going back to wherever back is. And what I see is, frankly, a very big focus on the practicalities, which are crucial and fundamental. You need to you need to be legally, you need to do your homework, you need to do all that. But the thing is that that in the long run, that's irrelevant, because once you do move and you are legal and you do have your residency, that's when the game begins, really. That's when you're really adjusting, and when the honeymoon is over and when life becomes life like any other place, with the ups and downs and good things and bad things and good days and bad days. It's kind of like that's when you start adulting in your life abroad. And I like to say you're adulting when you get more bills than postcards in your mail. So, and when people are so tunnel vision focused on, I need to move abroad, I need to make it work, I need to make it happen. Yes, you do need. It's kind of like the equivalent of building a house, going to Home Depot and saying, I'm going to need water, so I'm going to buy 500 faucets. Yes, you do need water. But do you have 500 bathrooms and kitchens? No, you're going to, waste time, energy, because when you do create your life abroad, you need to know how many faucets you're going to really use. And so that's what I see the most, is people focusing a lot only on the practicalities, which of course are crucial and fundamental. There's no denying that. You have to get that done. But there's life after that. And that's when the rubber hits the road, so to speak. That's the test of, is this life for me? And sometimes people get disappointed because they didn't do the groundwork. They focused only on that.
I will say, I will say that we are all guilty at some point of this. I mean, it's easy for me to
I'm the
uh,
first one to say this. That's why I do what I do.
make decisions based on the things that I can see right now. Okay, I'm moving to X town, and I see that I don't know. I'm used to this having all these fancy tools with my customers. Big garage in America, Milwaukee, carpenter guy, builder. I'm used to having all these tools, and this is so I go to Portugal. I don't have the tools I want. It's like, okay, I need Pablo for the shipping thing.
Mhm.
But we are guilty of just looking at the surface, the very basic things. On top of that, when you do the surface, but then there's a little things that are a little bit more not tangible, that things that are knowledge. So what Anna and Zach do, the immigration process, or things that they're not obvious, but they're you're gonna hit those roads. I mean, you're gonna hit those walls. But what you do is even more, it's more invisible. You don't see it until you feel it, and it's a
Yeah.
feeling, and then the feeling can kill you. The feeling could do people would get into a depression and actually
Oh,
kill themselves.
absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
Although depression is out of my expert zone. I mean, I'm not a clinical psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. But, just last week, someone reached out to me because the person had done their whole process of the D7 visa. Everything was done. And then they started getting super anxious and it got even sick, possibly from the anxiety. I'm not a doctor, so I can't for sure say that, but that is a possibility. And they were saying, like, you know what? I have all the documents, I have everything, but I don't know really why I'm doing this. Like it was like, oh, affordable health care. But do I
Mm.
really want to be away from my loved ones? And like, you got to do that first before investing all the time, energy, and money with the practical stuff, because they demand time, energy, and money. It is a job in itself to sometimes to get through the visa process.
I
So
totally agree with you. What we also talk to people about sometimes is, okay, so we can handle kind of the what and the how, but at the center of all of that has to be the why.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Well,
that comes first.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I go even beyond that, because the why, many people go to the defensive. I want to go
Mm,
because I want to leave the violence. I want to leave the politics. That too will be behind you. The question that I help my clients answer is, what for? What is
mhm.
the purpose of the move? What is the purpose of the life you want to build? Because the why is also something that, like, oh, I want to move, whenever we fill in the blanks with because it's too expensive here, because you're
All
actually,
these negative statements, right?
exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. These are things you want to get away from. These are not things you
yeah.
want to move towards. And it's just how we're wired. It's normal for us to think like that. And it's common. And this is true for a move abroad or anything in life, to be honest. Like, you're getting married, you're changing jobs, you're having a child. What do you want this for? How is this going to contribute to your happiness? How does this align with your goals? How is this going to make you closer to what you want in life? So this is kind of like, I apply this to the life abroad experience, but this can be applicable to anything, really, if you think about it.
Right. And keeping those things in mind too, because like you said, right, when you get to a new country, when you're going through a little bit of culture shock, I talk like I felt this every single move. You start off in a place and you're kind of in this honeymoon period. You're so happy to be there. Everything is bright and shiny. And then at some point you kind of hit a crisis moment where you're like, what have I done? And
Yeah,
no matter what, I swear, no matter what, you'll hit that moment. And that's where you have to remember, okay, it's because
yeah,
of this, right?
yeah,
And you'll get through it if that reason is strong enough and you believe in it and you have that kind of vision for your life.
yeah,
And then, you'll have like little dips along the way, but it'll it'll
Yeah,
settle down. But being
absolutely.
ready for that and knowing that you can get through a moment like that because you will have it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
totally agree.
Girls, I did this research. I went online, kind of like what people, are complaining about Portugal, and they just come up with this trivial thing, trivial list, like the weather or like the banking system or like things like that. I shouldn't even mention that. I should like eliminate that out of the conversation, uh, because getting your purpose and your meaning right, it's is what we need to do if we are doing this gigantic international move, getting your purpose right. And you're gonna feel bad if you move to Portugal or to Costa Rica, to whatever place. You're still gonna complain about things. Believe me, there are gonna be things to complain in Portugal. There are gonna be things to complain in Mexico, everywhere. Another thing that I see, more like the guys, talking about the guy, maybe it's the guy and the girl, I don't know. uh, I see this trend of people moving to Portugal or Portugal or to many other countries as a practical way of maybe saving money for their retirement. So there's
Mhm.
just a financial decision. It's just like, okay, my retirement is $3,000 a month or whatever a month, and I want to make the most out of that. So it's not even sentimental. It's just like, okay, I like the country, I like the weather. It seems nice food. Okay, I'm gonna be saving some money, maybe going out for dinner like
Mhm.
3 times a week instead of maybe once a week. Uh, that's the other thing I see. As
Mhm.
kind of like why the practical reason people do this, but at the same time, uh, yeah, it's not just the money. It's many other things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there are all of those benefits, right? Like you can realize that. Um, I don't know that I think one of the main differences in like realizing what that really looks like though, and then if you can adapt, one of the pitfalls I see people fall into is assuming that vacation life is going to be real life, right? Because when you're on vacation, when you're on a trip like that in Portugal, you aren't working usually, right? You're spending more money than you usually would on fun activities or adventures or whatever it is. And that's not what, and maybe you're staying in a beautiful hotel, okay, where people are taking care of all these things for you. You don't have to clean, you don't have to do laundry, etc. And that's not normal life. So also thinking about it as, okay, if you're going to get serious about moving, maybe there's a better kind of trip that you can take where you can do a more focused scouting trip and think about, okay, I'm going to go stay in a place that is very similar to the place I would rent, and I'm going to do kind of normal day-to-day things. I'm going to go to the market, I'm going to see what shopping is like, I'm going to cook in a kitchen, I'm going to explore where I would go shopping or explore where I would buy clothes and really understand what's available. That's the type of research I would say that'll give you a much better sense of what things are going to really look like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. There many of my clients when they're going on the scouting trip, I really remind them like a scouting trip is not a vacation; it's a mission with a purpose. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to really figure out before your scouting trip whether it's 10 days or 10 months, because some people have the chance of going on what I call the extended test drive.
Which is
Um,
amazing. Yes.
yeah, I've had clients, like 4 months and whatever the length, it's important to list 3 to 5 questions that you want to get answered during this trip. Like I'm all for some people's like the emotional, but um, actually it's about planning. It's about writing down, okay, in this trip, I want to know one, if moving abroad is for me or not. Or I want to figure out if where specifically, what region I want to live in. So it's really important to know that and to keep very focused every day. How are you getting closer to the answer to that question? Because the worst thing you can happen is go back after your scouting trip and say, oh, wow, I had a great time. Look at all the, but I still don't know what to do. That's like, how frustrating. So, and it's so tempting to do that. And what,
Mm-hmm.
and not only, Anna, when you talked about like the grocery stores and all that, And what I say is like, go to a clinic.
Mhm.
Experience that, pretend you're going to go to a doctor's appointment, see what it's like, see what the waiting area is like here in Portugal, people have to take a number when they go to the drugstore or to the clinic, and Americans find that super weird. I found that in the beginning. I'm not American, but I found that interesting in the beginning, and now I find it like, duh, of course you don't have to see who's in front of you and who's in line. You don't have, you just wait for your number. That's so obvious. You sit down, you're on their phone. But these things, these little things that down the line can be a source of cultural shock moments, that those are the things you want to experience during your scouting trip,
Definitely.
and not just, sightseeing and looking all. You can have sightseeing moments. That's fine too, because you can have and should
Have
have.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, but factor in those moments when you go to the drugstore and you see what over-the-counter medicine there is and there's not. You can't find Tylenol here. There's no such thing. There's no Tylenol. And you're
Hmm.
like, how is there no Tylenol? Well, there are alternatives to Tylenol. They're the same, but the brands are different. So really experience that, because these can really minimize the potential cultural shock pain points down the line. So these are things that usually people don't think about when planning their trip, and these little tweaks can make a whole difference when, even for
Totally.
deciding, like, if Tylenol is a big deal for you, Portugal's not your place.
And if I can add one thing, which I see people making mistakes on also these scouting trips, it's if you have kids, schools, and like
Mm,
make sure to,
Hmm.
in particular, do that research on what kinds of schools you might be interested in and set up your visits well in advance,
absolutely.
because you don't know, they might be on vacation.
Yeah.
There might be a waiting list, especially
There
if you're in the
almost
Lisbon
always are. Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Like do that research far in advance so you can do those school visits and understand what the context
Absolutely.
might be for your kids in particular.
Absolutely.
The kids are
Absolutely.
a big
Hmm.
part of the challenge. Our time is up. I just want to show kind of like a comment here, and this comment might be, I think it may be for Anna. Uh, this is out of my LinkedIn. We are not going to answer this question because it's another topic and where time is off. But I'm going to introduce Andrew to Anna so you guys could start talking.
Definitely
Uh,
happy to give some neighborhood recommendations for Lisbon if you're interested. Yes.
yeah, this is it. Our time is up. It's been over 20 minutes, and I'm so happy to have you guys here. Thank you for joining me in this journey, just to share information for the expat community about all of these different issues. Super happy. Great job. High
Thank you
five.
so much,
Bye.
Pablo.
Bye.
Bye.